want to focus on that and build the white working class, the poor, black working class, indigenous, Latino people to overthrow these capitalists that is harming all our lives.
Everybody, we're doing live stand-up comedy.
All of our lives.
Suspending reinvestment in the thrift savings.
The views and events expressed here are totally whacked and are not necessarily the views of anyone.
Choose your destiny.
For federal workers and pausing new investments in the Civil Service Retirement and Disability Fund and the Health Benefits Fund for retired postal workers. Now, Treasury projects that'll buy us enough time to stave off the specter of default until at least early June. But this is all happening a little earlier than Washington had anticipated. And one of the reasons for that is higher than expected interest rates. Last spring, the CBO projected that the cost of paying down our debt would be about $400 billion in fiscal 2022. The reality was the total was $475 billion, more than we spent on veterans benefits, transportation, or even higher education. Republicans say this is exactly why we need to pump the brakes on spending. This week, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy ruled out a clean debt limit increase, calling instead for common sense compromise on a balanced budget. But Democrats counter that the debt limit should not be a political bargaining chip. So, Melissa, we're going to hear a lot of this kind of rhetoric over the next few months because this is unlikely to get resolved until lawmakers on both sides of the aisle feel they've exhausted all of their options. Back over to you.
It is a political bargaining chip, though, Elon. And so, I mean, I'm wondering from a market really participant standpoint, I think traditionally it has been something that is assumed will work itself out. Nobody wants to drive the U.S. to default. No party wants to own that at all.
Yes, they do.
And so something will be done. Why, in your view, do politics actually, play out this time so that it may actually get to that point?
Yeah, I think the real risk here is not that someone is going to ride the default train into economic oblivion or political oblivion even, but rather that there's the risk of an accidental default because the political maneuvering that it could take to get us out of the brinksmanship that we've seen in the past could take some time. The measures that people are talking about, whether it's a discharge petition, whether it's a complicated procedure that would kick authority back over to the president in order to raise the debt limit, whether it's debt prioritization, all of those things take time to work out. And when you're operating against the deadline, the one thing you don't have is time. So I think that's the concern. Remember back in 2011, the U.S. credit was downgraded even before we actually even defaulted. The U.S. didn't actually end up defaulting, but even the specter of it was enough to rattle markets and enough to rattle investors. So I think that's the risk that you're really seeing here. And the other big political difference is that now any one member who's unhappy with Kevin McCarthy's decisions in the House can force a vote to oust him as speaker. And so that creates another level of political uncertainty where you could end up with leadership in Congress who you don't even know who that person's going to be or who you're going to be bargaining with in order to get out of the mess.
And they're playing this game and it has real world consequences. What did they say earlier? They're going to affect the postal workers' retirement funds. What did they say? Real people are going to hurt while they're playing around with this shit. Like, they're just talking about it like it's a talking point, but real people are going to hurt as a result. And I think this is going to go on. This is going to go on into the summer and maybe even further.
Well, and I like how the lady came back and said, no, this is a bargaining chip. This is a political tool, like something that they're going to use to, I guess, get what they want or, to use as fuel for why this party or that party is not on your side or whatever. But one thing that I think that people do need to fully understand is one or the other. We're on a 50-50 playing field, and it's either our the executive administration, either they're evil genius on knowing how to break down the government, or they're totally incompetent and have no idea what they're doing. And I think it's the first one because we got somebody who's in office for who's been in there 50 years.
These people are not incompetent.
Exactly. So they're purposely trying to run your country into the ground. And by you not seeing that and calling them on their shit, It just allows them to continue doing the same old bullshit where they can use certain things, because a lot of this stuff is a facade. Like a lot of it is a lie, because a lot of these things could be different and will be different based on the narrative. And they're pushing a narrative that's making people see it one way or the other. But because really what they want to, I mean, a lot of people don't believe it, but they really want to run the country down. That way that they have a reason to be able to say that it's to justify, you know, us being a part of this one world government. So, I mean, look, I mean, you see it however you see it, people, but I think y'all need to come look at the facts and say, and you decide what side you want to pick, that he's either an evil genius or he's just too dumb to handle his job.
Let me read some comments. This one, it says, a capriciously arbitrary number, always farcical production when it comes up, leverage based on smoke. So this person is saying like it's basically not a thing, but it appears to be, but they get real concessions as a result of this, you know, political maneuvering.
The propaganda, they're able to sell the story and make people believe that this is what's going on. Because, I mean, we got to remember, like, I mean, you had an argument, or well, not an argument, but you had a discussion with somebody on Facebook one day, and y'all went back, whatever, and I put my 2 cents in, and, you know, they're telling me that what I'm saying makes no sense, but the same reason, that's the same reason why Gaddafi got killed, is because he was going to bring in a currency that was backed by, you know, minerals that's in the ground, you know, something that actually retains the value of the money, instead of something that's able to go flip-flop back and forth, no matter, you know, depending on how much you print up. When you have a system that's backed by gold or silver or oil or any natural resource, you have something to compare it to. You're not just what do they call it when you just kind of
printing money.
Get the terminology, but say it again.
I just said printing money, just printing it.
Well, no, they're printing money, but like they're able to give the different values based on, you know, the trade. Like, you know, some countries will buy bonds and this and that, you know, that kind of somewhat put some value on it, or you know, when they're, but however, you need something, because it doesn't give really any intrinsic value, nothing to really just stabilize it. And when you can just print up more money and then it drops value, the more you have, the supply and demand portion of it, I mean, you're never gonna see a real, you know, where the country can really grow, because any moment they can change it just based on a lie, a story, or whatever they want, however they want to present it to you. So, I mean, we're gonna continually get screwed as long as we go under this system like this.
Let me read some more. It says, there's a circus around this every time, but it passes. And then it says, and we then finally have a laugh. Another comment, it says, the problem is a bunch of idiots in Congress and our government that doesn't know how to manage money. They think they can just keep on getting a blank check. Another comment, it says, why would we have to increase the debt limit when Biden just told us he reduced it by $1 trillion? Was that true or false? Another comment, it says, defense had to squeeze in another $800 billion right before the limit. Another comment, it says, what are the expected cuts the Republicans are demanding? Who will it impact? These would have been some good questions to answer here. I hear it is for Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. I really feel there is more to this story, and they aren't even mentioning that part. I don't believe it is a favorable one. Let's cut military spending.